live.
We're alive. And if it's quite all right, I don't see anything. Oh, there's a lag. Here we go.
30 seconds. Caller, turn down your radio. It wouldn't be a show if we didn't say that, right?
I think that's kind of like the Sports Truly thing, right?
It is.
You know,
we start the show the same way that we end it.
There's a good chance I'll knock my phone over, too, especially tonight.
Craig says, woo! All right.
Where? Craig.
Oh, hold on a second.
Oldies radio's in.
I wanted to pull this down so that we had the chat up. The chat up. Put it in the middle so it's not whatever. What's up?
Cat.
What's up, gentlemans?
You sounded like Bo Rat there.
Bo? Gentleman?
What's up, gentlemen? My wife. Hey, look at Oldies radio.
Oldies radio with the Henry Winkler impersonation, which Henry Winkler, like, he's all about those. He's all about the con circuit, right? Never thought that, but he's all about that.
Like a con artist? Oh, you mean like
like the Comic Con, like the Comic Con things. Yeah, he's all about that. He's come to Pittsburgh a few times.
I thought you were implying like he was doing like the car extended warranty phone calls now.
Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe we shouldn't say that.
Hey, times are tough.
Slandering Henry Winkler.
No, I'm not. He's a nice guy. I wrote to him and he signed my Happy Days card. So.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go.
So.
Oldies Radio's got a copy of Fonzie's Favorites. I think I know what that record looks like. I think it just doesn't have just a picture of him on the front, like just a big, huge, right? I think that's what it looks like. Just has his head like really big.
I want the Don Most Favorites. That's what I want. I want to know what Don Most was listening to.
That's great.
So,
well, let's get grooving here, I guess, right? No poster.
No poster. What? Oh, okay. Did it come with a poster?
Yeah. I would assume it came with the Fonzie poster. I have a Fonzie Migo somewhere. Did I ever show you this?
No.
He had this little, Migos are, right? Well, I sent you.
Yeah.
He's this little tab in the back, and actually his thumbs are. You can do these fist, and then like the thumbs you can like it's like a GI Joe thing or whatever, and then you can pull the back, and he makes his hand go like
hey.
Little tap that goes like that. Yeah. So give me some Telly Savalas. What was I watching the other day? I saw something with Telly Savalas that I was like, is it a record that he did? Oh, there's something.
Really?
Yeah, there's something that he did. Like he did. It's a musical record that he did. I'll have to find it. It was pretty terrible. Like, it's not really.
I can't imagine that.
It's not really singing. It's just sort of him like, just kind
miming.
Just kind of no. He's just kind of yelling at me because you know how that's just how.
So like a Black Flag record.
No, it's something from the 70s. It's like 70s garbage sort of thing. Speaking of
Midnight at the Oasis.
Have you ever seen Kelly's Heroes? Are you a fan of that movie?
Oh yeah, okay. Of course.
That's one of my all-time favorite movies. And
that's a great movie.
Just Telly Savalas is an awesome character in that movie. So yeah, Telly sings your favorite Black Flag hits. There you go. Steve, what would be on that album? Let's hear it. Let's hear your...
Oh, we'd have to have Spray Paint the Walls and Six Pack. Of course, Rise Above, right? Maybe Nervous Breakdown. We'll go in there and we'll do, let's see, some Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. Wasted.
Oh, man. That would be so good.
I'd buy that in a heartbeat.
Do you have any of the Leonard Nimoy albums or like the William Shatner ones? Do you have any of those? Have you heard of them?
No, you know what? I have seen them, but when I have seen them, they've been quite a considerable more amount than my curiosity would allow me to pay. Okay. So I think I saw one year at the Austin Record Convention. The one year I went, I think it was like $50 or $60.
Oh wow. See, they're pretty common around here. I have the Transformed Man, I think is what it is, which is
his Lou Reed cover album.
No, it has has Mr. Tambourine Man on it, which is really, there's no Rocket Man on that. Remember how there was that big, remember how
Yeah.
he did that big, Rocket Man thing. I don't remember what that was for. Was that the Grammy Awards or something like that, where he's like smoking the cigarette? That's a good bit. But yeah, Mr. Tambourine Man's on there, and it's pretty obnoxious. But the Leonard Nimoy ones are very common around here. I think I have four. There's four different ones.
There's more than one.
Yeah, there's one that
They give him a multiple album deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
There's one that he has the
But we couldn't get that Four Stooges record, but we could get the
yeah. Well, to be fair, they're on like Dot Records or something like that. Like it's not major label. I think they're all Dot, maybe MCA or MGM. I'm not sure. There's so there's the one that's like him in the Spock outfit, and it's like he's holding the Enterprise, and it's like Mr. Spock something or other. I don't know. Then there's both sides of Leonard Nimoy, which is it has him like in character as Spock in one part, and
that's his Bob Dylan cover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like the both sides of Leonard Nimoy, where he covers Hollis Brown. Though it's I don't know. I don't even know what's on. We have the record, but I don't even know what's on there. And then there's like a touch of Nimoy, which is like the green. I think you've seen that.
His Grateful Dead cover album.
Yeah,
Touch of Grey.
Touch of Nimoy. Yeah, it's like a green. It's he's sort of in the middle of like this green sort of woods, and he's holding this thing. And I think on that one he does some Gordon Lightfoot cover. I can't remember what it is. Either it's like I'm Not Saying, or it's like Early Morning Rain. I can't remember. I'm not sure which one it is. Again, these are not records that I have, but I really don't listen to them. And then of course the other one is I don't remember what that one's called, but it's like it's the one that has the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins. Like, I'm sure you've heard that one, right? Have you heard that?
No.
Oh my goodness.
I have not.
Okay.
You could be making all this up right now.
This is all totally true. And again, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. But yes, I will play for you. I will send you a link after the show of Leonard Nimoy singing the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins, and it is a weird song, but it's hilarious.
Should be a show idea one time. Don't you think? Who's going to hit us with a copyright strike for something like that?
Yeah, I think that's something that we could do, or maybe we could take it over to Twitch and do stuff and stream it on Twitch instead. So just kind of depends on what you guys want to do.
We don't talk about the return of Bruce Willis's record. I remember that came out.
What about like Don Johnson? Like Don Johnson doesn't he have a couple Heartbeat?
Yeah. And what's his name? Pat Boone did a metal record where he covered like Holy Diver.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. I do remember that.
Holy Diver, you've been down too long in the midnight sea.
Oldies Radio says, I have this one record by a guy named Bob Jacobs, something about Ray Bradbury. Yes, I have that.
Ray Bradbury is awesome. The Ray Bradbury Theater.
Yep.
That's a great. I love watching that.
I have it on DVD.
I do too. I've got the complete series.
Yeah.
That Night Gallery were two that they were show kind of back to back.
Yeah.
And both of those, I love the Ray Bradbury Theater. Yeah. That's all we needed. Look at that. Something else I didn't know we had. And I love his books too. I've got several of his books.
Yeah. The Illustrated Man is a fantastic one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's the so before all the Kmart's shut down around here, when I would go and look at their sort of like how they would do like, hey, it's the 20 horror movie packs, right? They had both of those Ray Bradbury Theater collections for like $5. So they're definitely show watch. Do you have a favorite from the Ray Bradbury Theater that you think of? I like the one with the stop motion dinosaur that the guy's like, make it uglier, make it uglier, make it uglier, and then he just makes it look like the guy. Mill Creek, yes, Mill Creek Entertainment.
Mill Creek put those out, and I ended up buying, I think, the entire series for like under $10. I think it was like $8.99 or not this Christmas, but 2020's Christmas. Yeah. My favorite episode, there is one, and I don't remember the title of the episode, but it's got two guys, and it's kind of like a where the government is controlling literally everything, and these guys sneak out of their house to kind of talk about doing whatever, and a helicopter spots them and they're trying to get away from it because if you get caught it's certain death. Not ringing any bells, but
Yeah, no,
it's really a good one. It's kind of 1984
yeah.
ish,
Is it the one
kind.
where the guy works at like he works at sort of like a computer center or something like
Right,
that? Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
right,
which one you're
right.
talking about.
Yeah, and yeah, I thought that one was really good. There's also another one where like a guy as an adult travels back to when he's a kid and tries to kind
Yes, the
of
time machine one.
re.
Yes,
Yes, yeah.
that one's
I
pretty
mean
cool.
that so those are kind of some highlights, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's the one of my favorite ones too is like the lady with the cake. Do you know that one?
Yes,
where,
yes,
where she's in the freezer. Like that one, I
right.
think is probably one of the just the song in there alone, and I forget how it
It's
goes,
one of
but
the more darker ones.
yeah, it's just like oh my goodness. When I watch that one, that song is stuck in my head for multiple days.
It's like
Um,
the Silver Shamrock song from Halloween 3.
right. But yes, I need to watch some of those.
Yeah,
Oldies
they're
Radio
great, man.
Oldies Radio, talk to me about your Mill Creek collection. Do you have quite a few? I've been collecting them for a really long time. Like Half Price Books, Steve. Did you used to get those movie packs there? Like, did you ever do
No,
those? Okay,
I used to get them at it's like Walmart, like the
okay,
dump bin,
yeah.
which is no longer $5. It's $7.50 now.
Oh,
So yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, you can find stacks and stacks. There was a couple of horror movie ones I bought. One of them had like Blood Diner, which is like an obscure '80s horror film, but it's never been put on a disc form. Like obviously, it's been released on VHS,
hmm
but never a disc form or any kind of streaming for that matter.
hmm
But it was on one of those. And I know people were kind of clamoring for it. And it was just odd that they got the rights and put it on that. And that one had a print pretty quick. I think at one point in time, I think they had the Leprechaun movies.
Yeah,
I did not buy that one,
yeah.
but it was like Leprechaun 1 through, I don't know, 18 or whatever it is, which I've never seen any of that. I've seen the one where he goes to space in the hood,
Okay.
and those were not in and Las Vegas. So I guess I've seen 3, but those not all the way through, but those movies, seeing those 3 did not inspire me to pick up the entire box set. So, um, if I'm going to watch something like that, I'll go with Troll 2 and, feel a little bit better about things when I'm
Nilbog.
done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they Half Price Books used to have them, and actually, even like a really long time ago, like I'm talking, this was probably like 2001. I remember like Big Lots would have these movies that were like it was just called Dollar Entertainment. They were $1, and then they would be like 2 movies, and they would be like mostly they were like either like those like the black and white ones that were like from the 30s and 40s that were just sort of like either silent movies or just terrible ones. But like um, that I really got turned on to a lot of horror movies through that. Like
Mm-hmm.
Dementia 13, which was like one that was that
Yeah,
was
and that's on every collection like that.
exactly, yeah. Oldest radio, so yeah, the public domain stuff exactly. Um,
Sure.
but for a while, I went through and like all of those like 50 movie packs, the 20 movie packs, the 10 movie packs. I bought all of those. And Steve, I know I've talked to you about this before, but I put a big spreadsheet together that was every single one of those movie packs, and then I
Right.
put it in alphabetical order so I could be like, okay, here's this movie, and yeah, you get like if you've bought those quite a bit. The Terror with Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson. You probably have 5 different
3 of
versions of
course.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
same thing with the Night of the Living Dead.
The Living Dead.
Uh,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
but
And
yeah,
all varying degrees of quality.
yeah, exactly. So I
Can never be the same print.
right. But I enjoy those, and for a while Sam and we would go through, and it was just like we were watching in alphabetical order, and then we would rate them and be like, okay, is this a movie that we're gonna watch again? And that was where that uh I think I was talking to you about that a little while ago. That Jesse the Body Ventura movie, like Atraxa or Abraxa, or I forget what it
Yeah,
is,
the
where
sci-fi movie.
he's
Yeah.
like the Terminator. Yes, where he's like doing that one. We watched that and we were like, oh my god, this is by far the worst movie that we've ever seen in our entire life.
I watched like this is probably about a year or 2 ago. I watched the Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons movie Runaway. Are you familiar with
I am
this?
not, so enlighten
Where
me.
Gene Simmons plays a drug dealer in the future, and Tom Selleck is a cop, and it's it's as amazing as I've made it out to be.
So
So
when is it talked like when is it from? Like when is it like
I forget when it took place, but it was made in like 84, 85,
hmm,
somewhere in that, like shortly after Kiss took off the makeup. And yeah, it's probably Gene Simmons it dresses up as a woman, which I know is probably not too different than some of the outfits he wore in the 80s.
yeah.
But yeah, at one point he dresses up as like a transvestite, and it's a very interesting movie. It's actually really good. I know it sounds like I'm panning it. I mean, it's not like Citizen Kane or anything like that. It's
Right.
more along the lines of a Jaws 3, but it's not. It's not terrible. Tom Selleck, Gene Simmons plays. He's a decent actor.
There you go.
Have you seen any Gene Simmons movies?
No, I haven't. Like how
Trick
many?
or Treat from
No,
'87.
no.
He has a small cameo in that. So Trick or Treat's a really great movie. It stars what's his name? Skippy from Family Ties.
Okay.
All right, so
Yeah,
I'm kind of losing you in the
yeah.
audience. So, but
I'm
anyway,
not. I
has anybody seen Trick or Treat from '80s? Not Trick or Treat, but Trick or Treat from '80s. So anyway, so this metalhead, he gets his favorite lead singer in the entire world, Sammy Kerr, dies in a hotel fire, and Gene Simmons is a DJ, and he's like, he knows he's getting picked on in school. He's like, Sammy would want you to have this, and it's an acetate of his unreleased record. Well, it's from hell, and so Sammy comes out of there and starts terrorizing people and all that stuff. And the kid wants to get revenge, and Sammy's like, "Hey, you should totally knock those guys out." And uh, stuff ensues from there. But it's really great. I'm hoping somebody will like jump in there and be like, "Yeah, I've." Okay,
Yep,
so all
Craig.
right, so Craig,
Craig's seen it before, so there you go. Haunted Record. Yep, there you go.
yeah, in like 2003. Yeah, I bought that. I want to say like about 2000. Like, and again, at the dump man. I think they were 350 at that time. Though
Oh
now they're
wow.
$5. Now they're 750. So
And
yeah,
Ozzy plays the preacher.
Ozzy plays a TV
Okay.
evangelist and all that kind of
Now I
stuff.
need to see this.
So it's I'm sure the whole thing's on YouTube. But yeah, it's super out of print, but it's great. It's really good. Most music, yeah. Craig's right. It's way better than most Kiss music videos from the entire day. Yeah, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. So it's worth seeking out.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll definitely have to. You've piqued my curiosity now. That is it you've seen the Alice Cooper one, right? What was that one called? I forget what the name of the movie is.
Monster Dog.
Monster Dog. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got my favorite Alice Cooper song in it.
Yeah.
What's I've got identity. That's out of Identity Crisis. Yeah, it's my favorite Alice Cooper song.
Crises.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's so garage.
James Bond. Yeah, that's
sometimes Billy the Kid.
It's almost like Iggy Pop, which I thought.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
yeah, he's clearly doing his best Iggy Pop.
Oldies Radio, Craig, have you guys seen Monster Dog before? It's on Comet every once in a while. If you guys watch Comet, we haven't been getting as good of a signal for Comet. I don't know if I need to.
I don't get Comet anymore.
I might need to adjust my antenna, but yeah, our our PBS stations are coming in fantastic, but we've lost Comet, so yeah. Monster Dog, it's so Alice Cooper goes back to his childhood home, right? His childhood town, the town where he grew up in.
Yeah.
And he goes to this house, and there's this werewolf monster dog kind of thing that's there, and terrorizes everybody, and then yeah, and then they go, and that's it. That's the movie. It's kind of
not very good.
Everybody trying to get out of the house before the monster eats them, and it's bookended by this Alice Cooper music video, which is a pretty great music video. So there you go. Oldies Radio got the giant rooftop antenna. That's right. Cord cutters unite. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'll be with you guys next month.
Yeah. Well,
I missed the cutoff for this month.
Well, I'll have to talk to you about Oldies Radio. Do you have a DVR? Do you have anything like that for your? Because I will record the TV, and then I just put it on the computer, and I will edit it, and we get the.
Do you record baseball games?
So the HD stuff can be difficult because it's like, normally when there's, and it just has to do with, the frame rate. When there's
Yeah.
like the action, it's usually like, how sometimes it'll go digital on you basically.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's the only thing that sucks about it. But
Did you
yeah,
write to them and get the express written consent to record from Major League?
no, of course not. But yeah, it's cool. Like you can, yeah, you say you have an old school TV or TiVo. That's awesome.
TiVo.
Man, oldies radio, you are definitely living in a different time than the rest of us, and that's awesome. All right, so Mark Neely, I do animation for the Aquarium Drunkard Pictured Show. Oh wow, that's awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
It's streaming 120 minutes, cable access style show of animation, music videos, live footage. You guys would like it. Yes, I think I've seen it
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
on YouTube, if I remember correctly, Mark. So that is really cool. I didn't know that that was something that you did. Um, that's this, yeah. Is that on Adult Swim? Is that what it is? Do they do that on there too, as well?
I'm
I'm
fairly
thinking,
certain they do.
Mark, you'll have to let us know. I feel like there's a tie-in with that. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, Not sure. All right. Well, again, we're on a delay, so we'll wait. Uh, Oldies Radio also has the Roku TV. Yes, man, you
Yeah,
are.
I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, there's really no reason to have it, right? And you've got Pluto, which I'm a huge Pluto fan.
Yeah.
You've got all that
Well,
stuff. Like,
Tubi too is yeah.
Tubi's got amazing stuff on it. Is there really any need to have cable?
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
there's not. There's
yeah.
not.
There you go. First episode aired on Adult Swim right before COVID hit. See,
I thought so. Yeah.
yeah. I thought that I knew that there was a connection there. So that's really cool, Mark. Uh,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't think that it's definitely in the time that we live in. It's I think growing up that we it was all about cable and stuff like that. And I think now it's
It's
especially
unnecessary. There's
the over
other
the air.
options, you know.
I mean, and again, I live within a couple miles of pretty much three of the different television towers. So I mean, I think I get like 62 channels or something like that. So being as close as I am to downtown, we're getting a pretty good
Downtown.
going down. We get put the antenna up, and we'll go downtown and we'll watch some shows. Yeah, so very cool. All right, so hey, I know we're already 20 minutes into the show. Thanks for joining, everybody. Um, Thanks for coming to our TV talk, the TV talk portion of the show.
Welcome to Coffee Talk.
Yeah, so let's talk about some music tonight. I think really just gonna talk maybe we're gonna talk sort of all music, just kind of what we're listening to. I know that some of you, I didn't, if you were connected with me on my personal Facebook, I posted on Instagram. But Jerry of Jerry's Records in Pittsburgh passed away. It would be well, what, 2 weekends ago now at this point. Um, so, and of course, he, was a huge mentor to me. Uh, and the majority of my record collection came from Jerry's Records, and uh, I was shocked, man. I was
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it's something that's crazy, and my buddy, Jerry Shimp, we were just talking about let's go hang out with Jerry, and so he has this place that so he had his record store open for a while. He's in a place called Squirrel Hill. He was there for probably about 30 years or so. And then in 2017, he was like, I'm retiring. I'm going to go ahead and sell the store. So he sold it to one of the guys that worked there. And so he went away for a while. Like he got like a double knee surgery. He was gone, like out of the game for like a year. Um, and then like just one day there was like a record show, and there was something, and it was like, and the appearance of Vinyl Man, right? So we're like, okay, who's Vinyl Man? And it turned out that um, it was Jerry. So Jerry Weber brought his records, and the cool thing is like he was like the interconnecting sort of person. Like all the record people know all the record people that are in Pittsburgh, right? So all those stores kind of, and I don't know if like Papa Jazz and all that, do all those guys sort of know like Is okay, so it's
Well,
similar.
yeah, you've got Tim who owns Papa Jazz, Eric who owns Scratch and Spin, and they're kind of all pretty well connected, and
Okay.
there's no rivalry or anything like that. Like they'll call each other up, hey, do you have this record? I got a customer looking for it. They'll do things like that. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
oh
Okay.
yeah, like the vinyl. I hate to say the vinyl community, but that's essentially what it is.
Right.
Is pretty close knit around here.
Okay.
Like the guys pretty much know each other, and you can bring up a certain name, like, oh yeah, well that's so and so, and he used to work at so and so, and
And
all
that's what
that.
I would assume that there's you because that's the way that Pittsburgh is too. Like they're guys that like worked at Jerry's and then they opened up their own stores or they what I mean.
It's the
Exact same
same thing
thing.
here.
And
Same thing
again,
here.
that's growing up in a small town, we had like one place like to get records, and either you went to FYE or you went to Camelot or NRM, which were just our local, chain stores basically. But moving to the city, that was a different thing for me, where it was like, oh, this guy he used to work at Jerry's and he opened up Paul's CDs, and and Paul, you had, Bob worked for him, and now Bob works for whatever. So,
He
Jerry
came
was
in there and said, "What kind of CDs y'all looking for this evening? Let me hear you."
Paul's
All right,
CDs
I'm
was
sorry.
great. Paul's was great. I mean, Paul, he was a professor at Pitt. Like he was a guy that like he taught like I think he taught like music classes or something like that, like music history classes. And then he had a CD store, and he had, two of the guys that worked for him, Carl Hendricks and Bob. They all went, and Carl ended up taking over the business after Paul retired, and Bob works at one of the record stores that's down in the north side. And
He
down in the north
he,
side, um,
he teaches English during the day and rock and roll in the evening, baby.
so,
I'm
but
done. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm
no,
done. I
that's okay.
promise.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I love all the Kiss things. Um, but yeah, I mean, Jerry was, he was the guy that sort of connected everybody.
Sure.
You sort of walk through Jerry's doors, and that's how you got the bug. And I mean, there and there's no like Pittsburgh records were always so cheap. You can ask
Mm.
anybody that's ever come here, and like when they can't believe that like I think Sean Benfield. Do you know him?
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
so he came to Jerry's, and it was like I had to work and I couldn't meet him, so Jerry Schimpf,
Okay.
hooked up with him. But he had a huge stack of records. Like he was like he bought a ton of records because Jerry's like all of his records were like $4 to like $7, like anything.
Wow.
And then like the more expensive stuff, your Dylans, your Zappa, the Beatles, things like that were $9. And
Well,
and
still, even then.
yeah, exactly. And so he really the thing was he really had the prices really low. So, I look at some of the records that I have, and they're most I would say the majority of them were probably between $5 and $7. And and you'd go up, and if you bought a bunch, he'd always give you a discount, and it would just be like on the regular, I would be in there, and I put that on my Facebook, like, so like when I first moved to the city, I was working late. Sam was like, working during the day. So I would just go, we worked opposite shifts. So I would
Yeah.
like, I would go there and I would just hang out, and Jerry would be like, hey, see you. And the cool thing that he always did was like, he would always kind of say like, go take a look over there at the records. I think there's something that you'd like. And it's funny because it's just a weird statement, because it's like when you look at records, you're always going to find something that you like. But he would like know. He would know that there'd be like maybe there's, one specific little record that you want to get or whatever. And he was awesome about that. And he would write on the records, like he'd write on the sleeves, Jerry's picks and great Jerry, he'd sign his name. And those were like the ones like you knew, like those were the ones that you wanted to get because he was like signing off on them. And it's kind of sad because I threw away all those plastic sleeves. At the end of the day, it's a plastic sleeve that somebody wrote on, right? So so
Well,
it's
it's you're boiling it down too much.
right,
It's
exactly.
more than that.
Yeah, it is, but it's, I would just say like I didn't want a plastic sleeve that had been, in with all these records and dusty and everybody touched, and I would put it in the clear Blake sleeve kind of thing or
I
whatever.
think I have one of those that Jerry Shimp sent me years and years and years ago. I think it may be, is it a Robert Johnson record?
Could be, yeah.
Maybe. I'll have to
But
look, or
usually he just
maybe
would write in black marker on there, and he would write,
Jerry, and then he underline it.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So
yeah, I think I've got one.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I still have stuff that he has, but I don't have any that he like signed his name or he just put like a J on and things like that. And it's funny because I just, the records the last time I was there, I just probably about a couple of weeks ago, I just, I put them in brand new sleeves and threw the old ones out. But again, it's like I said, it's just sort of, I keep the stickers on it. I have some that still have the Jerry, some of them that still have the Jerry sticker on it and stuff like that. But I mean, he was, there will never be somebody like Jerry. I think that, I kind of put that he was sort of the Mr. Rogers of, Mr. Rogers, of course, from Pittsburgh, but he was sort of that guy of, of Pittsburgh. And I can't even put into words like, really what I want to say, but no, he was, again, there will never be another somebody else like him. So, after he sold the record store, like I said, he came back, and then like he started like giving out these little cards to people that would say Vinyl Man's Clubhouse, and it had the address on them. And I have one somewhere, and he would just, he was like, here, this is my warehouse. So you'd go out to his warehouse, and then he just sort of sold records out of his warehouse. And then really last year, he really kind of was like, yeah, I'm back in the game. I'm doing this. And I saw him in like May. Jerry Shimp and I were like, it's the first time we saw each other in 2 years, and I was like, let's go to Jerry's, right? Like I can't tell you how many times I've uttered that to Jerry Shimp. I mean, let's go to Jerry's. Yeah, okay, I'm definitely gonna go to Jerry's. And we bought some records, and you do the, kind of do the gab with Jerry and all that, and that's that. I do have a Genesis record that I bought there. I bought Nursery Crime, which like I said, I'm not really the biggest Genesis fan, but that record had a story to it because there was on that record there was like an old Jerry sticker, and I have a record that I'll show you that has show you what it looks like. It was a sticker that said Jerry's at the top of it, and then after that he just used like these blank stickers that just had the prices on it. And so it had that sticker on it, and then there was like a Goodwill sticker on it, like how Goodwill would do like those green stickers that just had the date on it, and then of course there was his Jerry sticker. So it's like somebody bought it at Jerry's, donated it to Goodwill, and then it found itself back at Jerry's, and then he sold it to me again. So it's like I like, and it wasn't that copy was okay, but it wasn't like, there were some copies that were a little bit better, and I was like, you know what, I'm getting this one just because like this record has a story, and I left all the stickers on and stuff like that. I'll have to show it to you, but yeah, man, that was that. So what's Craig saying? It's great. You have all these great stories and memories. A sleeve would be cool, but nothing replaces memory. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like I said, I know I'm kind of like you said, Steve. I'm distilling it down to it's a plastic sleeve that somebody wrote on. I'm sure that I have one somewhere. Like I said, every cube that I look at with my records, there's whatever. So it's just a matter of, finding that. And I was trying to pull out a couple right before the show, but all the ones I found just kind of had his writing on it, but it didn't have his name on it. But at the end of the day, it's, whatever. I have his records. That's what it is. So,
well, and you got those stories too. Craig's right. So.
Yeah. So you'll have to find that Robert Johnson thing. So, Steve,
it's either that or the Donna and Gene Gotcheck solo record. Though.
Yeah, well, that might be one too. So shall we do a little toast to the man, to Jerry?
I don't drink like this, so I'm gonna make all kinds of faces. So
I'll get this on tap in the back. So to Jerry Weber. So
all right,
thumbs up, man. Woo. Kind of grabs you by the boo-boo. So that's that. Since you're talking Midwest, do you ever go record shopping in Cincinnati? Mark, I've been to Cincinnati once. I mean,
it's family all over Ohio.
Yeah,
never been record shopping though. My dad's side of the family is all over Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, I'm close to that, right? So it's funny. I don't consider I don't consider Pittsburgh the Midwest, but I know it is. Um, we consider it the Middle East, but um, no, yeah, it's no,
Boy,
it's
give us a couple of beers and the jokes
yeah,
really
yeah,
start coming out, folks.
yeah. I got to be careful what I say here because I'm gonna get a little loopy. Um, yeah, I mean, we've been to Dayton. Um, Oldies Radio says I live in the same county as Derek Vaughn. Have you ever seen him play? I know he plays quite a bit. But yeah, so I've been to Dayton quite a bit. Omega Music is really cool in Dayton. Um, Toledo is pretty close. We go through Toledo if we go to like Detroit. Yeah, Detroit is like pretty much 4 hours from Pittsburgh, like on the nose. So you can listen to the first four Black Sabbath albums like back to back for the entire car ride. um, and yeah, and it's exactly 4 hours. So, or maybe it's the first five. I don't know. Maybe it's four. Maybe first five. Probably the first five. I don't think it would be the first four. They're not an hour long. They're like 45 minutes,
Yeah.
50 minutes. Um, so
You just
yeah,
made Masters of Reality twice and call it.
yeah. So yeah, Omega Music is really cool. I follow them on Instagram. I follow them on Facebook. Um, Plan 9, or no, Plan 9 is in like Virginia, the Virginia area. Um, what is oh man, I can already tell that I'm feeling a little warm already. You know what I mean? Kind of a little warm here. That's not Plan 9. What is Culture Clash. That's what it is in Toledo. Culture Clash.
Sounds like a
Um,
wrestling event. Welcome to Culture
welcome to
Clash.
Clash of the Champions. Um, as long as you don't get technical ecstasy or never say die, you're good. Yeah, I'm.
You know what? I agree with you 100% on Technical Ecstasy. That is a garbage record. Never Say Die, however, I have come to really love that record. You know what record I don't really care for is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
Sabbath, bloody Sabbath.
I let me add this into it though. Although National Acrobat is one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs,
That's a
but
great tune.
I think as a whole that record is a huge departure from. I mean, Masters Reality is my favorite Black Sabbath. Well, that or Born Again, but if you're talking Ozzy, then we're talking Masters Reality for sure. But I love Sabotage. Now, have you heard Sabotage?
Sabotage is good.
Love Sabotage. It's an angry album. That's awesome. But dude, Technical Ecstasy is woo wee. That is Gypsy and Backstreet Kid. That is just some trash, man.
Yeah, I think that for me there is a certain cutoff point. I always like the first Black Sabbath album. I've had that for a long time, and that one is always kind of like my favorite one. I do like Volume 4. I think I've sort of moved towards that a little bit more. It's interesting to look and see, like, the first album, they're basically playing it like a half step down. So they're doing like the Hendrix, like the E flat instead of the E tuning. And then by the time that they get to like, I think Master of Reality, I think is in C sharp. So it's almost like what, a whole step, a step and a half down, I think.
Right.
So like that's why it just sounds as sludgy as it is. But
I think that Into the Void is the gnarliest riff of all time. I don't think there's ever going to be a riff. Maybe Bring It On Home when Jimmy Page kicks in. But Into the Void, I think, is the be all end all riffs. That is amazingness on top of amazingness. Yeah. John says blasphemy. Yeah, that's a not uncommon response to me saying I don't like Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
That's great. So, Steve, show and tell. 40 minutes in. Let's see what you got.
Hey, we're doing it. All right, man. Are you okay?
Yeah,
are you all right?
I'm good.
I'm good. All right. I
don't. Yeah. I'm feeling warm. Can. Talk to me about Can.
We're drinking from cans. Talking about Can.
Monster Movie is amazing.
Monster. It after much thought and much debate and much internal struggle and strife, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is numero uno for me when it comes to Can.
Okay.
Disagree?
No, I think that that's good. I think that Tago Mago I think is up there. It can be. I think if you look at it from like beginning to end, solid album. Monster Movie is definitely there because Tago Mago can be a little long, right? So
Well, I think it overstays its welcome. It's an amazing record, but it overstays its welcome. This, I want to listen to something else. Then I put Future Days on, and then I'm like, okay, how about some Tago Mago instead?
yeah,
So I just, this is. I really think that this is. I mean, Father Cannot Yell. What a way to start a career, right?
yeah.
So
Well,
that's
yeah. No, I mean that's a great album. I think that it's kind of weird how just like how did you discover Can through Mojo? I'm assuming.
I did Tago Mago album cover. I
Yeah.
said, "What is this?" And I think that this was the only one they had at the record store, and I started at the beginning just inadvertently
Yeah.
because that's what was in stock. That's what they had. So
Yeah. Well, and again, sometimes it's like it's strange that like that's the same thing with like Fugazi for me. Like
yeah,
I was just based on what was available at the store. That was how I kind of got into them. Same with the Doors.
sure.
I went from buying the first Doors album, which we had a record store that would always have like I think they just called it like top 10 hits were like $10 and it would just always sort of be kind of the same albums, but I got some really good ones. I got Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison, $10,
Oh,
and the Doors' first album. Those are the two that I just, I remember off the top of my head. But then I was like, I want to listen to some more Doors, and I wasn't paying like big money prices for them.
the Mordors.
The Mordors, am I already like getting the droop face going on
No,
here?
I that may be my ears from the alcohol. I just want to.
um, but I was able to get the Soft Parade, which was that was my second Doors album that I got, which
Oh,
I think that because of that, because I sort of like force fed myself, I was like, I have to like this, right? Then the other albums were pretty easy to sort of,
well, sure. If you could, yeah.
yeah.
If you enjoy that, you'll love everything they put out.
So Craig says tried Tago Mago a few times, hasn't clicked for me. Future Days is good. Can is very hit or miss for me. The
I
only
think
Can
that's
I can
fair.
physically own is soundtracks. Yeah, I mean, I think Craig, knowing your taste in music, I think that I think that I can kind of understand why that might not it be a challenging record for you. Um, but
I know
so,
John's a big Can fan.
really
Isn't
okay.
that right, John? Yeah, I think John and I have talked a couple of different times about Can. I know he's a huge Can fan.
I think Tago Mago. If you look at Paper House, Mushroom, I think that I really think that those are huge tunes. Um, what else is on that? You Do Right's not on that one, right? No,
No, you do right's on the first album.
it's on the first album.
We got
Having a little
Mary
trouble.
Mary's. You got Father Cannot Yell, Mary, Mary, so contrary, outside my door, and you do right.
Let me look.
I mean, it's a great record.
Let me consult the internet here. It was the departure piece. Paper House, Mushroom, oh yeah, Hallelujah. Bring me my coffee or tea though. I mean, I don't know, Craig. Give it another shot. That's all I can say.
It's but I think as a whole, like, listen, I disagree with the statement about. I mean, if it's not clicking for him, that's his own prerogative. I'm not dogging that at all. But Tago Mago is a fantastic record, I think. But I understand what he's saying about it can be hit or miss. Like can be a tough band to digest at some
Yeah.
points. I mean, really, they really can.
Mark Neely brings up Mark. I always butcher how to say this. Iggy Batsiami, right? Something like that. It's the one with the okra on the cover.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, I think that's again that's another great album. Mark, I don't know if you've ever heard. I know we talked about Pavement and Stephen Malkmus the other day. He has one where he does. It came out for Record Store Day, where he does the entire album.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's one of those records that like I think it was like $25 for Record Store Day, and I was like, I don't think I should buy this, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy it, and like now it's like an $80 record, so because it never, it was never put in print or anything like that, other than that way. So, I buy. John does the pronunciation. Age Yausi.
Yasi. The one with the okra on the cover.
The one with the okra on the cover.
Doggone it. I ain't speaking all that French.
Yeah, those are great. And there's a record store. It's that's in downtown, and they had opened right before the pandemic, and they had all these amazing records there, and they had original, I have like represses of most of those. I think I have Future Days. I think I have a original pressing of.
Oh wow.
But they had like of Tagomago and the one with the okra on the cover. They had the original pressings of those, and they were like $80, and I was like, you know what, like. I don't want to spend like $80 of my money, but maybe I can bring like $80 of records to like trade and then get that one record. And then I was like, no, that's stupid because I can just get it on CD. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like, you know, um, yeah, I won't hate on Tagomago or Can in general because I definitely get why they're loved, just not my thing really. And you know what? And
it's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
And they're I had I think Tagomago I got that, and then at the record store somebody had Cannibalism 1 and 2. Have you ever seen those ones? Those are like, it's sort of like their greatest hits, which it's pretty good. It's pretty, I mean, it's a little all over the place because it really, I mean, I think it's like their first 5 albums. They do, tunes from across them. But yeah, I think that's kind of why that I kind of got into them just because of that. But for me, there's also like a stopping point. I don't really, I know that there's been a lot of stuff that's come out recently, and it's like, yeah, they had like a box set that I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it might even be like 5 years ago at this point, but it was really like, yeah, I don't know if I want to really kind of, invest in that. When I listen to Can, I have the same look on my face that people give me when I'm listening to King Crimson Lark's Tongues. The Hard Times.
Now that's a record.
The Hard Times had a really funny. We got 9 people in the chat, by the way. Hello, everyone in chat.
Hello, yeah, welcome. Drop by and say hello.
Happy Tuesday to you. We're talking about music. Let's see, the Hard Times. Let me reference a thing on the internet and make a joke about it. Here it is here. It says, "Oh, you're a King Crimson fan? Please provide me exactly 0 extra information. Oh, please, don't try to get me on board with 21st Century Schizoid Man. That's just 90 tolerable seconds followed by 4 minutes of fussy jazz, and you know it. I never wanted to punch a song harder." So, it's on the Hard Times. So,
okay.
Have you guys seen there's that King Crimson documentary coming out? Have you seen stuff about that, Steve?
I have not, but I've seen a friend of mine was really hyping that Thin Lizzy documentary that came out not too long ago. I am so behind on all those documentaries. Yep. Like, as I've said before, if it's not Don Quixote or Sesame Street or SpongeBob, it's really not in rotation in my household. But I definitely want to check out that Thin Lizzy documentary, that Zappa documentary that came out. I still haven't watched the Get Back. I saw
that's coming to IMAX. I think.
Yeah, I won't be going to the theater.
Yeah, I know that. I think it's on the 11th, but it's also coming out.
I'm hoping
the Blu-ray
on Blu-ray, like a physical copy too. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll. There's a Casey in the Sunshine. Oh
no, okay. King Crimson. Come on, man.
I'm sorry, I got excited about you. I mean, sound your funky horn. I guess I won't. God bless.
That's funny.
So much hate with Casey and the Sunshine. Get off the show.
Casey and the Sunshine Band documentary. It's gonna be.
I watched the shit out of that. Are you kidding me? I must have watched that.
Hey,
great.
The folks that did Behind the Music, if they do it the same way as that,
I think they did a Casey. I think they did. They
definitely did.
I'm pretty sure they did.
That's great.
In 1974, Casey had a meeting with
Clive Davis
to discuss the upcoming.
That's funny. Okay, so let's see. So you showed one can record, and what else do you got, Steve?
I'm going to go ahead. I was talking to Chris. Everybody knows Chris, the well loved and well honored Chris. He did a really good video on John Cale the other day too. Everybody should go check out
Yeah,
Dixie
you know, I saw
Farms.
that and I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but
You
I
should. You should. You should. He always gives me grief because I don't watch his videos, and he's not wrong, but I'm just pointing that out that he gives me grief. So, but he and I were talking and about the Who, and I know this is his. I think this is his favorite album. Period. And for the longest time, their more
for the
famous album.
longest time. Sorry, I just had to say it.
It's okay. That's what it's like having me around. Is having
Yeah,
every time there's a
exactly.
little something to be referenced, he skirts in there. Now, if you
And
get a Paul Stanley reference in here in this,
okay,
then you're
I'll
really
try.
getting
I'll try, Steve.
for a million points. I used to think "Who's Next" was my favorite Who album, and I'm still. This is my favorite Who album right now.
Okay.
And Chris, I think he and I were texting back and forth earlier this week or yesterday or Sunday. At some point we were texting back and forth, and he says because who's next used to be his favorite as well, and he says, but the overall fact is why I changed to go to this one, why I think it's better. He says I think the Lifehouse demos are better than Who's Next. I think the Lighthouse demos that Pete was working on are better than this. And I brought up the point, whoever cut Pure and Easy is insane from that record. But I think Sells Out is their most creative, and it's you kind of get their humor in there too a little bit.
Yeah.
With their stuff, definitely. But I also think this record is just it's flawless. It's absolutely flawless.
Yeah. Did you have you checked out the deluxe edition of that?
I've streamed some of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they back in 2008 or whatever when they did the actual deluxe edition in the slipcase or whatever, they did that, and then they've recently just re-released it. Just I think
Which is the one like
okay.
2020. I think they're like is it 2020 or 2021? I don't remember.
Yeah, either it was last summer or the summer before that they released it.
Past 3 years have kind of run into each other so far.
Right.
Past 2 years anyway.
It was between 2019 and yesterday, sometime in between there. Yeah, that's a great collection to pick up. I think that for me, the second side does kind of drag a little bit on
Really?
it. Well, I mean it's good, but
I mean that's fair, but I just
compared to the
curious.
first side,
Okay.
First side is just absolutely solid. Just the way that the songs run into each other. Odorono is a hilarious song too. But just like every single thing, it just and what they're trying to go for is like you're listening to the radio and you're just sort of like and there's like some songs you just can't you can't like go to the church of your choice,
Right.
like that, there's those little commercials, like you just, premier drums, premier drums, premier drums, like, you know what I mean?
It's almost like a Battles of the Band from
yeah,
the Turtles,
yeah,
because it just covers so much ground in so little time.
yeah.
But it's such a fun record too. I think that the humor is a little bit more highbrow on this versus the Turtles. It's a little more tongue in cheek and a little bit more. I don't want to say bathroom humor, but it's a little bit more crude, so to speak. Like, come on, I want to lay you and all that kind of stuff. But I think that the Who they nail it out of the park with this one. I absolutely love this record. It's a fun record.
Even I'm thinking that the hold your group together with ropes of sound strings, and then it just ding 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 goes right into what Mariana's shaking hand, right?
Yeah,
and it's just like you can't I don't know, like that. To me, it's one of my favorites just because how they put it together. I mean, I think the Who is sort of a difficult band because it's almost like every single album is something a little bit different. You have, the My Generation album is that the R&B album, right? They're trying to do that. What's the quick one? Like it's sort of like that one is that transition album where they're kind of like one foot in the old way, and then it's like, hey, let's do this long song that we got to fill this side. Let's just put 3 half completed songs together and do that. And and again, Tommy's great because it's Tommy, and the Who's Next is great too. And then
Tommy
after
or
that,
Quadrophenia?
I've really never given Quadrophenia a chance. I've never.
Really?
When I saw them, they did the was it 2011, 2012, something like that. They did the Quadrophenia tour. I went to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I never really it really wasn't an album that I ever had. I never came across it, to buy it and just really kind of listen to it. So it's like all those other ones I've sort of you know, I've listened to those way more than I mean, I've listened to Quadrophenia now at this point, but it's I listened to those other albums so many times that they just have such an impression that it doesn't. And the Who Sell Out was another one that was a Mojo album for me because they would
Mm-hmm.
always talk about that in Mojo. So that was one of the ones I got there. DJ Trish says, "Hello, friends.
Hey, what's up, DJ Trish?
Thanks for stopping by, DJ Trish. We are having a fantastic Tuesday night. Um, you got anything else you want me to show something, Steve?"
I got a couple more things, but why don't you go? I've
Yeah,
yapped enough.
I just wanted to show this. I know that I was sort of talking about this, like last week or whatever, but I did
Yes.
I did get the Tumbleweed Connection Deluxe Edition, um, and it's pretty fantastic. It's the original album remastered, and I was telling you that they kind of like mixed it, like where one thing was sort of in one ear was sort of flipped a little bit, which was strange. But the BBC sessions that are on here
Mm-hmm.
are just great, and they're in mono too because obviously that's the way
Oh.
it was. So that the well-known gun, and even to the demo for There Goes a Well-Known Gun was an interesting thing. So I've been on sort of an Elton John kick. This is by far my favorite Elton John album.
Oh yeah, mine too. Mine too.
So I've just started getting some of the big hitters again. I know I showed Captain Fantastic the other day, and I just actually picked up Yellow Brick Road for the first time, and that's one of Chris's favorite albums. I think it was the first album that he got on CD. He has a good story about that. I think his dad bought it, and he was like, you know, was like, what is this CD, But yeah, so that was great, and this has gone up in price big time. I mean,
All of them. Yeah.
I think it was like $25 for this, but um, it definitely is much better than the original copy that I had from the 80s or whatever. So yeah, big fan of that. So Steve, what are your thoughts on Tumbleweed? Is that like your
Oh yeah, it's my favorite Elton John record,
that's
for
your favorite
sure.
one? Okay,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
just because it sounds like
Yeah.
the
It's
band, right? It sort of has that like
well,
has that
that it's kind of got that like that that California
right.
that early 70s California Laurel Canyon sound, but it's also got, like you said, with the band, you can hear a lot of the Brown album in there. So yeah, for sure, that's a great record. That whole period, starting with that and Madman Across the Water and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I mean, those are just great records. They really are. I think Captain Fantastic is kind of that line in the sand for me. Well, I don't say everything, but everything prior to that, I'm a really big fan of,
Okay.
up to and including that. But everything past that, I'm kind of not a fan of.
Well, and I think we talked about that. I think 2 weeks ago or whatever, where the Elton John greatest hits, that one that was like it's like the White Album where he's there with not that one, not that one. Yeah, that one is all killer no filler. I think that's a greatest hits album. So I know that we wanted to maybe talk about that, so maybe we can save that for another show. But I think that is Inside and Out. That's an amazing greatest hits album. No, it's the one that came out like in 2000, like where he did. I think This Train Don't Stop. It was like that was like the one that was added onto there or something like that. Um, and yeah, It's like the David Bowie one. It's like the David Bowie double greatest hits, where it's like the first disc, it's like that doesn't leave your CD player, but then like the second one, it's like okay, that gets a little. It gets a little because it's like he moves so quickly, right? And like those first ones, it's like you get three songs from like each album, right? And then it's just like okay, this song, this song, this song. So yeah, Elton John's is a lot like that too. So
I would love to do a deep dive into like maybe like low to scary monsters. Like I'd love to do. No,
yeah,
you're not a fan of that stuff.
not really. No, I sold a copy of Low at like a I listened to it like a couple of times. And
See,
it didn't click with me. I couldn't get it. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it.
Like Rise and Fall is great, of course. I mean, I'm not telling. This is not any news to anybody, but
Right.
Hunky Dory and Rise and Fall are amazing. But I really think Station to Station to like, what is that? Scary Monsters? Is that the one that came out in '80? Those are. I don't know, man. That and Low and that live record. I don't know. That may be my favorite period. I think that's his Arch White Duke period or whatnot.
Yeah.
I dig that stuff a lot. Thin White Duke. There you go. What did I say? Arch White Duke, whatever the heck that is.
Yeah.
But
the Berlin trilogy is great. So yeah, a lot of people talk about that, and I just didn't. I don't know.
No,
like
it's not for everybody.
I didn't kind of latch onto it. I just I don't know. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know.
Where does Mick Ronson fall for like guitar players for you?
I think he's on. Oh, which reminds me, one thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know if we showed this when we were doing the music magazine thing. To the chest.
I don't think so.
Flashback. I think we might have, but in here it's the 100 most underrated guitarists of the 60s and 70s. I think we need.
Oh, that's cool.
I think we need to take a deep dive and take a look at that and see.
On next week.
Next week's show. I just wanted to talk about that because I think that's something that we should. I didn't really like spoil it. I didn't really look at it since I first bought the magazine, but I think that's something that we need to look and see.
Sounds great, yeah.
Who are some of those folks on there? So, okay. So how about I show you another one, Steve? This is
okay.
This is so what's the term that they always used in Mojo? Flies in the sherbet is what they always would say. Is that what it was? Yeah. Turds in the discography, as you and I were saying.
Right.
So I've been listening to a lot of. I'll show you some of their albums. So this is one of those bands that I sort of just started getting into a couple of years ago, and I like what I listen. Like I like what I hear. So, Barclay James Harvest, which there a lot of those Grapefruit comps. They play a lot of the songs on there. This album, pretty much every song that's on there has kind of showed up on one of those Grapefruit comps. Taking some time on, that was actually the name of one of those comps. Good Love Child was another one that's on there that's really fantastic. But their stuff is hard to find, especially the earlier stuff. It's kind of hard to find in the United States. They kind of got pigeonholed into being like a poor man's Moody Blues, and they actually have a song called Poor Man's Moody Blues, which is kind of weird. But like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I picked up Barclay James Harvest and Other Short Stories.
That album has sat on my shelf for years. I have never pulled it out.
And I think it's this is probably like this is a really good album. I like the sort of the direction that it goes. There are some songs that are sort of rocking, if you will, but it is a little bit different than this. This is almost like psychedelic kind of prog, where this is really like kind of like a watered down sort of maybe a little harder Moody Blues, not as like pop. And they actually had a box set, and this is one of the reasons why I sort of got into this. So Esoteric put out this massive box set, which it's like a ton of crap on it that you probably don't need. So there's disc 1, which is the original stereo remixed. Then they have bonus tracks on it. There's some BBC sessions on it. Then disc 2 is like a new stereo mix with some bonus tracks. And then there's a third disc that has it's like the DVD audio, like if you wanted to listen to
those are so useless.
You think so? Okay.
That whole concept is to me is so useless.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have the stereo setup, it doesn't really.
I'm gonna put the CD on my DVD player.
But the bonus tracks for that second disc is there's a handful of the I guess the US album version was different. The mastering was a little bit different as far as with how they mixed it and things like that. So this is sort of the final word. I probably paid too much for this than I really should. I probably just the proper CD would have been good. But I like it. It's like I would say like if you kind of dig that sort of the kind of the 70s sort of rock. I mean, it's to me it's like they're sort of like right there with like Spooky Tooth. Like
Okay.
they're a band that like they have good tunes, but like nobody ever really talks about them. Um, However, the other thing that happened was, so I bought this CD, which is the James Harvest or Barclay James Harvest Child of the Universe, the Essential Collection, and I was just like, okay, well, there's a bunch of tunes on here that I haven't heard, and it was like super cheap, and it's a double disc. But what happened was, they were on Harvest originally, right? So they were on the Harvest
Right.
label for like the first 4 albums, and then they went to Polydor, and what was it on Spinal Tap? Polymer Records. They went to Polymer Records, and then then they sort of got popular, but they get into this like these really like mid-tempo ballads that are just like these long 5 and 6 minute songs that just go nowhere. Um, and and it makes sense because I mean they're not really like, yeah, Spooky Tooth, Gary Wright's band, that's correct. Um, so this was
The
weird.
second record's great. Is
Yeah,
that the
no,
one
their
that
first
was
record is
only
amazing. The first record's
that was
amazing.
only that
Yeah,
was only
that
yesterday and better by you, than
yeah,
me.
yeah. I mean
Yeah.
those I'll maybe say their like first 3 albums are good, but that first one is
Yeah.
really hard to find. The first one was actually on Bell Records, and then the other ones were on
What's the one
A&M.
with the dude getting like the nail in his head?
Yeah, that one's kind of weird. Yeah, I know which one you're
Yeah.
talking about. That's like 70.
You want to know an,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you
Go
got it.
ahead.
It's all you,
I'm
man.
sorry. I'm sorry. Uh, Golden Earring is one of those bands too. A lot of people just know that Radar Love and all that kind of
They have a
stuff,
ton
but
of albums. They have a ton of
dude,
albums.
they're for like I think it's like Wall of Dolls or something like that. That's a great record. And they've got a double album too. Yeah, they're really great. So
But yeah, I can say that I was just not really. This CD really. There's some live tracks on here from 1974, which I definitely like that, so I'll probably pick up that album. And of course, it's the old Trickster where they're playing. Here's a live album that we put out with songs that were on the other label, the better songs from the old label, right? That whole thing. So that's kind of
gonna
where
skirt around that a little bit.
exactly where it's like, oh yeah, here's that tune or whatever. Um, but I did have also too, a really cool way to pick that up. And there's two of these. This is an import. Harvest Heritage. This is the best of the Beatles is my favorite Beatles album. The best of Barclay James Harvest. I got to tell you about Alan Partridge. That's a joke that's from a British TV show. But this again is once they got popular, like once they had their sort of
It's
those.
like the happiest album cover I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
entire
Well, the
life.
other
Like,
the other
look at
one,
that.
Volume 2, is pretty. Like I guess the Butterfly was their thing. Like I mean, again, I don't know. I mean, it was like the reoccurring. You got that, and then of course there's one on this too. So that was definitely a thing of theirs. Um, but this is like sort of an exploito best of and it's like because so some of their later albums were actually more popular in the United States than their earlier albums. So this is all stuff from like 1969, 1971, stuff like that. And they're like, oh, this is deleted, like this is no longer in print, so this is the only way that you can get this. So yeah, the second album's pretty good. They're the second version of this. It has like somebody like on a beach, and there's a butterfly, I think, on it too. So Barclay James Harvest again. There's that dividing line. That's what I wanted to tell you about. There's definitely that part where it's like I will not listen to any of their albums after this because they're
Sure.
just not good. They're just not. Yeah. Ceremony is the Spooky Tooth album you're thinking of, Steve.
Yes, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it.
You
That
broke
was
my heart, so I busted your jaw. The Last Puff is good. Spooky 2 is good.
yeah,
I have a great Spooky
spooky
Tooth.
too.
I have a great Spooky Tooth story. When I was a kid, we were on vacation, and um, we went to this. There was this record store, and there was just a CD store in the mall, and they had all these cassette tapes for like 10 cents, and there was like a best of Spooky Tooth, and the cover of it was like um there was like Mount Rushmore, and then there was like a picture of the band sort of down in the corner, which is hilarious because they're a British band. So I have no idea. It was like one of those like Rock Savers or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and then the cassette is of the album The Mirror, which is I think the last album that I think Gary Wright was. I think after that, then he sort of went solo and did Dreamweaver. I think right after that, it's like 70 Steely Dan or Steel Eye Span. Like that's like that's like two completely different bands. That's like I don't know. I'm gonna go Steel Eye Span because you know how me I like British folk. So Steve, you can say Steely Dan.
Okay.
Oh, you're reeling in the ears. So that's that. So that's on Polydor. Oh, and there's the butterfly again, right? Um, so it's strange. It's a strange thing, and a lot of the songs are just whatever. But I want you to look at this one song if you guys do anything. Um, look up a song called Titles. It's just Titles. That's the name of the title, right? Um, and all it is like a song that's all Beatles songs, like Here Comes the Sun, and like, but they put them all together and they like sing a song with it. It's terrible. It's like I don't understand why somebody would even want to do that, but I haven't made it to
It's
the second
called
disc.
art.
I can't, yeah, I haven't made it to the second disc yet. Um,
Oh, really? After that ringing endorsement of the first one, I can't imagine
yeah.
why.
I got seven. I got through like maybe 7 or 8 songs, and that was it. So um, that's that. So what else you got, Steve?
This is
Stars
the
on
best double.
45. That's a great record. That's a great. Have you ever heard that, Steve?
Stars on what is Stars on 45?
It's like an LP that's just like it's 12 minutes
It's like
long.
like a K-Tel record.
No, there's there were more than one because there's another one that's like Rolling Stones, but it's all Beatles songs that are like it's like 12 minutes of just this band doing Beatles songs like I Want to Hold Your Hand, and it just keeps going on and on and on. Stars on 45. It is a weird album. I used to see it all the time and I haven't seen it in I can't tell you how long, but yeah, that's another one. I got to write that down because I haven't listened to that in ages. So, thank you Oldies Radio. Great one for our mixtape. The side one of Stars on 45. They had a number one hit on June of '81. That's because everybody wanted to hear the Beatles, man.
Yeah.
They wanted that. All right, what do you got, Steve?
I'm gonna go ahead and out on a limb and say if this is not the greatest double album ever made, then it certainly belongs in that upper echelon. And it's an album that years ago people would kind of talk about and notate, but I haven't heard a lot of people, let's say this side of the past 10 years, really kind of sing the praises of this record. And this record is Something Anything by Todd Rundgren.
Okay.
This is a double album,
Okay.
and it is there again. There is not a miss note on this entire record. This is pop rock perfection. This is sits there right at the top of the heap. I absolutely love this record.
So that's an album that I used to see all the time, right? That was
Right.
one that was like you would see that for $1 all the time.
Dollar record all day long 15, 20 years ago.
And but I think it's definitely moved into that like the Fleetwood Mac rumors category where now it's a little bit more like people enjoy it. But is it really that awesome of an album? Like,
Yes.
why is it so good?
Todd Rundgren just this is his, I don't want to say his only foray into the power pop kind of thing,
Okay.
but he definitely went more in kind of a progressive, especially with Utopia and things like that, went more in a progressive rock area. But this album is just, I mean, if you're a fan of like Big Star or Guided by Voices, if you want to get something that's a little bit more contemporary, I mean, this is kind of like the start of that whole stuff.
Yeah.
This is like you talk about, I mean, Mark, just from you and I talking and being friends for all these years, I'm a big power pop fan, and this is the Sergeant Peppers of that genre.
Okay. Craig was saying it's a great one. There's a YouTube channel called Sea of Tranquility that was talking about that album recently. Great album.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's one that like I think that if I see that, I'm gonna definitely pick it up.
You won't regret it.
So the one you have there, so it's like a Rhino 2 disc. Is it just like,
Yes,
is that like have extra bonus tracks, or is it just that's the straight up
just
album? Okay.
just a straight up album came
Okay.
out. I think this came out in 90. Well, the album came out in 72. I want to say this came out in 92, 93,
Well, I think he had a
91.
box set that came out right around that time too. That was like there was an anthology. Oldies Radio says "Hello, it's me." Yeah, that was off of the first Nas album.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of my favorite songs of all time. Like if we were going
Open
to
My
sit there,
Eyes though. Open My Eyes.
I mean that's an amazing song, but it's no "Hello, It's Me."
So the original "Hello, It's Me" or
No, Todd
the,
Rundgren's. That's
okay. So
that.
not the Nas version of that. Okay. All
No,
right.
no, no,
Okay.
no, 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 no. Todd. I mean, that's like if we were ever going to get to a point where we're going to like, hey, we're going to rank, our top 10 songs. That would definitely be on it. That would be a constant revision thing. It'd be pointless to do. But again, "Hello, It's Me" is one of the, I think one of the best. According to me, is one of the best songs of all time.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's
right up there, Wichita Lineman and all that kind of stuff.
It is. I will say that song is definitely like that AM pop, sort of shopping music, but it's still a great tune. I think it's a fantastic tune. I mean, and it's, I think that there's really only 2 Todd Rundgren songs that like I know, and these are the ones that are sort of like those ones that you learn by osmosis, where you've never actually like picked up the album and been like, okay, this is this song, right? So
Right.
Hello, It's Me is one, and then the other one is, and I don't know what album this is on, but it's the one that's like, I don't want to work, I just want to bang on the drum all day. Is it on?
Yeah, that's from the 80s. That's
From the
terrible.
80s. See, they used to play that on the radio station. There was a radio station that on Fridays they would always play that. That was like
Yeah.
the theme song into that. So those are the two Todd Rundgren
Followed by
songs.
"Everybody's Working for Their Weekend" by Loverboy.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's really like my only. I mean, and I have all those Nas albums. I don't listen to them that often. The first one I probably
No,
listen to the most.
the first Nas record is amazing. That's a great record.
But I don't really listen to the other ones. So yeah, that's definitely an album I want to pick up. And I think that it's really funny because I think about the early days of the vinyl community, and Rob Clark, E.L. Lovox. I'm sure you remember him. And then, do you remember Jeff Recordman? Do you remember him? So Jeff, I think he was friends with Derek. He lived in Nebraska, or maybe he lives in Oldies Radio. What is it? The Canesville Collectibles. Is that in Iowa? What is? I'm sorry, I my United States geography is really bad right now. Iowa. It has to be Iowa, right? Is it Iowa and then Nebraska? You got I don't know. Yeah. Oldies Radio.
You get your Hawkeyes and your Cornhuskers mixed up, boy.
Oldies Radio. Do you know about Canesville Collectibles, which is like I'm sure you do. It's like a huge record store it's not in Nebraska, but it's like across the river into Iowa. I think it's Iowa. It's in Omaha or Council Bluffs. Council Bluffs, Iowa. So I was right. Yeah. Rob is a good dude. Doesn't look like it, but he's tall. Surprised me when I met him. It's funny, Craig. I'm about 6 foot. So, in cowboy boots, I'm about 6'2". And it's really funny because there's a lot of people I met in the vinyl community. Like I would say the people that I know, I'm sort of like one of the tallest people of sort of like, I'm usually pretty, I'm usually one of the taller people, but like I met Blake. Blake is like, he's like 6'8". He's a monster. I met Memphis Jim. Memphis Jim is easy 6'5". You're 6'5".
Yep.
So that's great. Council Tucky. That's funny. Invader of Your Heart. I don't remember Invader of Your Heart. It's interesting to see.
That's a Cheap Trick song. Invaders of the Heart.
Yeah, but he was from
Next position.
Yeah, I think he was from.
He said he was angry. Why was he angry?
Grooving in the Bluff. Yes, Memphis Jim. Wherever he may be. Toast to Memphis Jim.
Who is angry? I want to know who's angry.
Who's angry?
Why is he so angry?
Why is he so angry? Yeah. So what were we talking about? I'm sorry.
Oldest?
What was I talking about?
I don't know. I wouldn't
We're
listen.
talking about. Welcome to the How Tall Are You Vinyl Community channel. We were talking about Todd Rundgren, and I was just saying that that's one album that next time I see it, I'm definitely picking it up. So
yeah.
I'll probably buy it on CD. I think I'll. Now, do they have like a single disc where it's like we're able to combine both the albums, or is it too long that they have to put it on two?
I think it's too long. I think it's 85 minutes.
Okay,
So
yeah, that makes sense. So,
so
I'll show a couple more things if you got a
yeah,
minute. Okay.
I got a book and a CD, and then I'm done.
Okay.
I'm
So
done.
I know I think I've talked about this before, but I wanted to show it. And this is one of the Jerry's records. He got the Jerry's $3. Um, Roy Drusky, Now is a Lonely Time. Um, this is an album that is only available on vinyl. It's not in print on CD. So I'm going to show two albums that are like that. And I told you I was going to do that. Um, I think I got both the stereo and the mono copy. This one is a mono, I believe. Yeah, this is the mono version of it. But so Roy Drusky, I think he did. I don't know how big you are in country songs, Steve, but I believe
Oh, a
he did.
little bit, not a whole lot.
I believe he did the song "The Auctioneer." Well, I think that was like his big hit. You know how like every country star has like they had like one huge hit and then they ended up having
The
like
Streaker.
they had like a giant career after that. Um, the best way that I can describe this is sort of like a Tom Waits Nighthawks at the Diner sort of thing. Like you know how each one of the songs sort of have it's a stretch, right? It's a stretch, but bear with
Okay,
me here.
because I got super intrigued. I was
You'll
like,
like
wait a
this.
second.
You'll like this
Yeah,
album. I guarantee
yeah.
you'll like this album. So you know how each song sort of like it's like there's that little interlude where Tom is like he sort of like sets it up and then okay, hey, here's this song. You know what I mean? Like, um, it's the exact same way, but there's songs like like There Goes My Everything, Early Morning Rain, Apartment Number 9, that Johnny Paycheck song.
Yeah.
Um, She Thinks I Still Care. So there's some pretty big ones on here, but he sort of like it kind of became like that was like his thing he did like, and that's what country people like us they sort of figure out like okay this is like the kind of albums I'm gonna do, and then they just like they seriously just beat the dead horse, right? Um, but this is one that I picked up at Jerry's. Jerry's had an amazing country section that nobody ever looked at, and you could pretty much just go and be like, "Hey, I want that George Jones record," and they had it, and it was $3. So I was listening to this week. I kind of wanted to pull out a few records that I got at Jerry's that I was thinking about. So this is one of them. So if you have a chance to listen to that, probably on YouTube, I imagine it's on there. Um, it's really cool. It's just it's like sort of a love lost kind of thing, and he's talking about yeah, this is where we used to, this is our apartment that we used to have, and now it's, I'm sitting here lonely in apartment number 9. So that's a fun one. Uh,
I wonder what the copyright issues on stuff like that is. Like, could you pick that up for cheap and put it out on CD?
I would imagine that you could. I have a feeling that's sort of what Real Gone Records does. Like they don't, they'll say, okay, we're only going to do like 2,000 of these, and then
Sure.
then they put it out, and that's that. But, yeah, they're,
Be
yeah,
curious.
that's one, and I'll show another one that and I maybe if you want to chat about some albums here, we can chat some albums. This was brought up in one of the Facebook pages that I'm in. So this is Leonard Bernstein, and you know what, Steve? This also brings up a good question. Do you have any classical albums? Do you own any classical albums?
I have Kiss music from the Elder. Does that count? I've got that Deep Purple album in concert. Does that?
I was gonna, I brought that, so I figured we maybe talk about that, right? I wanted,
on.
we were talking about turds in the discography, and I wanted to get the temperature check there, right? Wanted to get a bold check on that one, right?
I think I have Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, but that's only because I like Clockwork Orange.
So this is Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The Fifth Symphony is the one that's the disco song, right?
Okay, so it's not. Yeah,
Sorry, I'm dropping
Wait, is
knowledge
that
on
the
you.
one on Saturday Night Fever soundtrack?
Yes, is the fifth one. Yep.
Okay, so I have two then.
The Joy Apollo something. Yes, that one's
I
that's
don't.
an interesting one too.
I don't go in there and go, oh, it's the bestest Chopin. Holy smokes.
Dude, I mean, so Deutsche Grammophon, their classical albums are the highest quality pressed records that you can buy. Deutsche Grammophon always had the best equipment, the best recording facilities. So this is like audiophile vinyl, and nobody knows that because everybody doesn't buy classical records.
Everybody's like me.
They're in the thrift store. Exactly. Um, so anytime that I would see a Deutsche Grammophon record for $1, I'd pick it up. So I have a huge amount, and I also bought the None Such record. So None Such was that classical label that Jack Holtzman did for
Switched on. Yeah.
Switched on Bach. Yeah, that's.
I've got those too.
I have both the sitting and the standing Bach. I'll bring both of those because the sitting Bach I think is the harder one to find. Um, None Such is another label that I collect. So, I have a good bit. None Such I only try to collect like the first 300 of the albums because it can be there's a lot, right? So, but those first 300 are pretty easy to find. But Deutsche Grammophon, if I found it, I get it, and they're some of the best sounding records that you can buy.
Okay.
So if you see them, they always have this big yellow label. They have this really nice sort of yellow spine here, and then you can put them all together in your cube and your what are those things called, the calyx or whatever. I don't even remember what they used to
Expedites.
expedite. Yeah. So and they all are all lined up, but this is so Leonard Bernstein's symphonic dances from West Side Story, and then there's also William Russo, three pieces for blues band and orchestra, and it features the Siegel Schwall Band. So, do you know about those
No,
guys?
of course I've got
Yeah.
the no, of course not. I don't know about
You
this
don't know
guy.
them? Oh, you don't know them? Okay.
Who
So,
who's that?
so they were sort of like a Paul Butterfield blues band. Not as good. They were on
Okay.
Vanguard. So Paul Butterfield was on Elektra. They were on Vanguard. Corky Siegel was the lead singer, and he was pretty much the guy that he was the leader throughout the entire thing. So they have some interesting albums. They're not as good as they're no East West by any means.
Well, what is though, right?
Yeah. So but yeah, so there's this, and it's
Hmm.
orchestra, and then they had Corky Seagull or Corky Seagull. Corky Siegel. He plays
Talking
harmonica.
Seagull, baby.
Corky Siegel gonna go down to the Greensboro Coliseum.
Coliseum, baby. He's gonna do the power drive on Jake the Snake Roberts, daddy. He's gonna.
um,
All right.
it's enough of that. But yeah, this is a fantastic one, and it's not on CD. And
Okay.
I was looking for it today.
Are
And
any of is any of that stuff on CD of
oh yeah, yeah.
any kind?
Deutsche Grammophon did a lot of. So it's funny because all of this is analog, right? So this is analog. Um, but in sort of like the early 80s, they were really one of the first digital adopters, and then they put the sort of like a little like corner here that says digital, and that's where I stopped collecting them. So I only collect the ones that
Okay.
are the analog ones, and that kind of like you set those restrictions so that you only say I'm only gonna buy these because really you'll find these all the time because nobody wants them. But this one is
I'm
fantastic.
definitely going to look at them.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen some of those in the dollar bins and things like that, and
yeah,
I've never cared enough to explore them. But now you've definitely perked my curiosity about it.
yeah. And so, of course, it was one from Jerry's, $4 from Jerry's. So, and so the guy that Marty, you remember Marty, Mr. Platypus? You
Mm-hmm.
remember him?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I had sent him. He collects a lot of classical music, and every time I would see this album, I would sort of adopt copies of it and send people that I knew. So I've probably had about maybe 6 of these in my collection over the years. So,
Oh,
um,
that's definitely interesting.
so let's talk about that. So let's move from this classical album, right? So you got the, you sort of got the blues guitar kind of thing. If I had to say what it sort of sounds like, it kind of is sort of like a Miles Davis kind of thing, where it's kind of a little avant-garde. Doesn't necessarily, it's not like a song, so to speak. There's a little bit of experimentation to it. It is a tough piece. It doesn't really, I wouldn't say that it works really well,
Hmm.
because it's like you kind of want the song to do something with like the orchestra, but it doesn't really kind of go anywhere.
Okay.
But it's still interesting. It's still an interesting thing where you have that crossover where, here's a band that they probably have about 8 albums out on the Vanguard label, um, and then they did the one classical album. So yeah, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about Deep Purple and the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. What are your thoughts on this? Do you like this Deep Purple album? You don't.
No,
Okay. Why don't you like it, Steve?
because it's not good. I don't know. No, it's all right. I'm not. That is one of those symphony records that I can tolerate.
Okay.
I know that later on, Kiss, the Scorpions, Metallica, like all those heavy metal bands, kind of did their take with that.
Right.
And then those are all terrible. But I mean, that's okay. Um, that's a record I should probably go back and listen to. I've
Okay.
listened to it a couple of times in my entire life and never thought much of it. I remember not really getting it and not caring for it, but I think my tastes have kind of matured and become a little bit more eclectic,
Right.
in the past
Yep.
20, 25 years or whatnot. So I probably, before I give a really good opinion on that record, I should probably give it another spin.
I think about the first handful of Deep Purple records, and they're really all kind of different, right? They all sort of had different. I wouldn't say that they're trying to find their sound, because they always sort of had their sound, but like each what do you want to say? Where it was like, oh, this is Mark One of Deep Purple, this is Mark Two, where
Sure.
different people went in and out. Um, I got the CD of this. There is an expanded 2 disc. Maybe it's just 1 disc with bonus tracks. I can't remember. But they do have, prior to this concert, they did do like a warm up where they played like Hush, and I forget. There's maybe like 3 songs or something like that they play, and then they play the part with the orchestra. Digesting it sort of in that does make it a little bit better, I think, than just sort of like, hey, I'm gonna put this on, right?
Right.
Um, but I love it. I love, and I think the Moody Blues Days of Future Past is also one of my favorite albums that are, I don't know, it just sounds like a soundtrack with the different the different orchestration and things like that. Do you like that album? Is that sort of like, that goes without saying, is like a really awesome album, or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is, but if I'm gonna, that's not a Moody Blues album that I reach for.
Okay.
The Question of Balance is probably my go-to Moody Blues record.
Yeah, I usually listen to the
But
the next
but
stuff.
I don't want to give the impression that I don't like strings. Like I think like strings and whatnot can be very complimentary to a song. I'm trying to think. Purple Rain, Prince's what's this? Take Me With You. That's got the strings in it. I think that strings, when they complement a song, when strings complement a song, I love it. When they are the song, I'm not a huge fan of it. If that makes any sense at all.
So I think that it's weird that there's a lot of those albums out there, and it's really the only ones that people really ever seem to talk about are the Deep Purple one, or they talk about the Moody Blues one. Because there's also the
Mm-hmm.
the Rick Wakeman, the War of the Worlds. So no, which one was his? Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah, now
Uh,
I like that record.
okay,
Now I
but
like that record pretty well.
but what makes that one different than maybe the Deep Purple one to you?
Because I think it's with again, without going back and listening to the Deep Purple one again. I think that Rick Wakeman. I think there's a little bit more of a direction towards it,
Okay,
and I think that Rick Wakeman with the keyboard, it's a little bit easier to digest because
okay,
it's kind of intertwined with it a little bit better versus Ian Pace and Richie Blackmore are code trying to mesh with
Well,
an orchestra.
it's difficult because you have these bands that are kind of famous for um, kind of being improvisational, right? Where in concert it's like okay, they get to stretch out, but when you have an orchestra backing you, it's not like okay, hey, we're just going to sort of you know go off in this direction, and then we're gonna
Try to keep up,
and then kind of come back, and we'll pull you
yeah.
back down. I think that's something that's very difficult. Where, and I even when I played music, we had a friend that played a cello, and one time we were like, let's just get together and jam, and we're playing and whatever, and then they were just sort of like they just kind of like stopped, and they were just like, I just don't like I can read music, but I just can't jam, right? Just
Mhm.
like it doesn't go anywhere. And that was weird because it's like, I've kind of lived in both worlds with that. I can read music and then I can also just, hey, I just make stuff up on the fly, right? But I think that's has a lot to do with it, where it's like you have these classically trained musicians and then you have people that are like, oh, well, John Lord wrote the score to this, and you know what I mean? Like, they're like, did those guys follow the score? Or they just be like, okay, you're just gonna do this for 4 bars, and then you're gonna do this for 4 bars, and whatever. So, yeah, and Craig says the Deep Purple album was John Lord's idea. They did it to appease him, and then Richie wanted to rock again, and hence why we got In Rock, which is an amazing album. After
Yes.
that, so,
Yeah.
Devil Went Down to Georgia had good violins. It did. It did. It definitely
It
focused.
really. Rosemary by the Peppermint Rainbow. That's such a great song.
Yeah, that's a good
One
one.
of those it's become one of those TikTok songs,
Um,
even though it's like 60 years old.
Steve, do you know about this album? I just wanted to bring it just because it's
Who is it?
Procol Harum live. Yeah. So
Nope.
this is another one that they did with the orchestra. They do, you know, Conquistador, A Salty Dog.
Now, I bet that's awesome.
It's good.
Conquistador, yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Maybe
yeah.
that's the other thing is there's no Deep Purple songs on that either. It's all just kind of
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And
like
I think that's what made
if they
that
did
other
like This Bird Had Flown or Andy Address or something like that,
yeah.
or maybe I would have gotten into it a little bit more, but maybe that's my hang up about that album.
I think that makes sense. Like you said, it's not like and again, that's what sort of happens with that, the Siegel Schwal one, where it's like it's not really songs, and that might be why this one is maybe it's a little bit better. I don't know. It sounds very I don't know. It's another one of those albums. It's like it's good, but it's like Procol Harum is tough, man. They're a band that I know that I've been talking about them a lot on a lot of these shows. I've just been really sort of just kind of like I want to keep trudging along until I get it. And I think I do. I think I have a pretty good idea on what they're about. But again, they're another band that just
Well,
sort of each album is very
well,
different.
what was it like last week or so? I sent you that song. I was like, hey, I heard this song and I really liked it. I remember what it was, but you were like, yeah, that's off of
There's off of
which I'm not.
Home. Yeah, I think it
Oh
was.
yeah,
Yeah, they again each one of their albums was, and I think that's what sort of made them unique was that um, they put out albums that weren't the same, and I think that sort of alienated their fans because they wanted to hear Whiter Shade of Pale, and they never got it ever again. Like it's just I don't know. Yeah, and again that's a song for them for this band. Like the first time I ever heard that song, that's when I was like you know what I mean. It's sort of like you never like you that song sounded different than anything that I'd ever heard in my entire life.
yeah, I can see
And
that.
there's like something that like just draws you into, and I don't know what it is. I mean, it's just a song, but
It's a
like,
melancholy tune and that organ in the background.
yeah,
And,
like it's like I couldn't imagine like in what was that 1967 when that came out, and it's just like, could you imagine like what the heck is this?
yeah.
Um, so that's the last of the it's the last of those albums. I wanted to show you this because that's where I went to lunch today. But I want to show you the Colonel's Mandolin Band. So,
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's not on CD as well.
this is not on CD as well. Yes. Uh, so you know how there's the do you remember seeing those records that are like the Christmas Eve with the Colonel? You ever see those ones that are like,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, that are all like country songs? I need to dig those out. I have a couple of those, but um, this album is probably one of the worst records that I've ever heard. So let me just kind of describe to you what's going on here.
All
So
right.
the Colonel Sanders, he's on here, right there. Colonel Sanders decided to donate. He loved the mandolin, and he decided to sort of donate to these children mandolins. And so, like, uh, they could learn how to play the mandolin. And
But they don't. But they get a record deal anyway.
so they put out, so there's Amazing Grace. There's a lot, just a closer walk with thee in the garden, old time religion, how great thou art. So there's some jammers on here. You also notice, I'm gonna see if you can see the track listings there. See, 1 minute and 8 seconds, 1 minute and 4 seconds, and this song here, old time religion, is a blazing 51 seconds. So,
Who's covering these songs? Minor Threat?
yeah. So just imagine, well, what we got here? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe 14 kids, uh, tearing it up on a banjo or a mandolin. Um,
I like their second record where they just all jam. It's two sides of them.
that's right.
They just roll tape and just you guys
Um,
tear it up.
but I thought, because I know that we sort of have loved doing this in the back, but I want to read you the liner notes on the back of this, and
I am all ears.
and let you know sort of what they cover America the Beautiful as well as on there too.
Of course they do.
So it was a cold and rainy day, and the teacher took a mandolin to school to play for his sixth grade class. What's a mandolin? They asked. One of the boys became so interested that he knew his parents just had to get one of those instruments for him to play. Soon all the students were trying to pressure mom and dad into buying a mandolin for them. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the beginning of the mandolin band. After the band had performed at many local civic groups, church groups, television, and radio, the children had an opportunity to play for Colonel Harlan Sanders one Sunday afternoon.
Where did they get the mandolins? We haven't solved that mystery.
This was easy to do because the children only live a few miles from the colonel's house.
So they just show up with all these mandolins and start bothering them. Give us a record deal. We're not going to shut
up. Blackwood Hall, which is a landmark in the Shelbyville area. The colonel was greatly impressed by the group and soon bought all the children new mandolins. Boom! With his magic wand. Ding! Ding! Ding!
It wasn't a magic wand, it was a magic chicken leg.
Yeah. Bing! It was a drumstick. Boom! Also, the colonel has helped the children make this record and plans to place 30,000 of these LP records in Canada alone. Watch out, Canada.
That'll be a hot seller. Did you get the new Guess Who record? No, but I got this.
Because the colonel is a famous Kentuckian, we were honored to have the band incorporated as the Colonel's Mandolin Band.
Uh-huh.
Now, for the glorification of Christ, the Colonel and the Mandolin Band send this record into the world. So,
now, could you buy this? To your knowledge, could you go to your local record store and pick this up, or was this something that you get with a number 4 when you went to KFC?
I would hope that I would assume that you were probably be able to get these at KFC back in the day. But this is a phenomenal record. And when I say phenomenal, I mean terrible record. But again, it's not on CD, so that's why I brought it today. So, Steve, what are your thoughts on the Colonel's Mandolin Band?
I am I am morbidly intrigued to say that the first one you were talking about, it was a cold Sunday morning. I was like, wait, is this Kentucky Rain? Like, how are we starting? Are we starting off on this? But yeah,
Oh my goodness, John, you have a copy of that? Do you have a copy of the Christmas record, or do you have a copy of the mandolin record?
You have the mandolin Christmas record. I bet you can buy these at Cracker Barrel today still, can't you? I figured that would be like, he sent 30,000 of them to Canada. Well, I bet you like 29,000 of them like are at Cracker Barrels across the southern United States.
Yeah, give me can I get the breast in the drumstick combo, and then a large Mountain Dew, and then 2 of those Colonel mandolin band records, please.
Sir, did you want to purchase the Colonel man? Look at me, darling. Of course I do. Heck, give me 2. I'll give one to my friend for Christmas.
Extra crispy or original? Wow. All right, John, I gotta know if he has. Yeah, it is pretty out of tune. I have the same mandolin record you just showed. All right. So there are 2 copies in the world, Steve.
I wonder if Discogs has it.
I'm sure they do. That copy was sealed originally, and then it was pretty gross on the plastic, so I opened it up. But yeah,
it was sealed. I can't imagine that they did. They couldn't wait to take the cellophane off in the car to throw it on when they got home.
It is out of tune. It just is. I mean, of course, this is before the days of digital tuners and all that too. So somebody just sort of was like plunking on the piano, ding 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 ding.
You think the Colonel was sitting there behind the control booth, like with the sleeves rolled up, just looking in on him? Now play it right, Billy. Screaming at this poor kid.
The Colonel Harlan Sanders. I mean, I would say I would love to have met the man. I think that
is that in the liner notes, or you?
No, I'm just okay. Intensely staring at the cover.
This is stream of consciousness.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, for
goodness
sake, right?
Finish your thought.
I'm just saying, man, it would be awesome to meet Colonel Sanders, right?
Okay.
Like, could you imagine getting some of that original, like Crisco? The Crisco, probably.
I'm a Popeyes guy myself.
You're a Popeyes guy. We don't have them around here. We have like one.
Here, hold up your KFC cup again, like the front with like his big grinning face on it. Like, all right, now I know that's his bolo or whatever, but I always thought that was his arms and his legs.
Right.
And like, so you know what?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Right. No, I enjoy Popeyes. I think the black bean mashed potatoes is pretty good, right? That's
the biscuits are an epic treat unto themselves. GQ chicken strips. I haven't been to Dairy Queen in forever. It's Bojangles. You guys have Bojangles?
We do not have Bojangles or Churches. There's none.
You need to get yourself a Cajun filet biscuit with pimento cheese on it, sir.
Wow, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's good. Oldies Radio. I know you like the privately pressed records are always fun. They're always.
We need to do a religious privately pressed records because I've got a stack of them.
Oh, I do too.
That may be something that we need to do because, like I said, I've got.
Would there be any interest in that? I mean, would you guys want to see a old time religion privately pressed? I mean, if there's interest, I mean,
that's a Patreon episode.
Yeah, you can join our Patreon to get.
Just mail me $5.
Your head 6. Bo is in the house.
What's up, Bo?
He said Barry Maguire. Barry Maguire. I could go on about Barry Maguire forever. He has some great Christian albums.
The Eastern World.
It is exploding.
Oh, Zappa says sure.
Okay.
Well, what are they going to do? Not watch?
Yeah. All right, Steve. Let's finish up.
I guess it's all right. Last CD I have. Yeah. Chris Bell, I Am the Cosmos. Again, filed this with the Todd Rundgren excellent power pop record.
And that's out of print now, right? They put it out
Yes.
they put it out on
Well,
record,
yes.
CD.
This is the Ryko version, but there has since been a 2-disc expanded set with other songs on and things like that, which I'm pretty anxious to check out. But yeah, again, this is just an amazing record. If you love Big Star, obviously you'll love that. Chris Bell was, of course, in Big Star. And the last thing I'm going to show, and this is a book that I've wanted for a while, and I finally just said, fine, I'm going to get it. It is huge. It is daunting. I have not had a chance to dive into it, but it is The Big Note. This is a guide to the recordings of Frank Zappa, and it is just absolutely every song, every album with just liner notes and stories and everything you could want. I have thumbed through this. I have looked at it. This looks absolutely amazing. It is a daunting task that'll probably take me the rest of the year to get through, but it's a journey that I am excited to take. So definitely recommend.
Get your mechanical pencil and start jotting down notes in the book.
Yes,
because you're not going to sell that copy. That one is yours.
I have a fresh highlighter sitting next to my chair that I'm going to use extensively going through this. So,
where'd you get that? Hold it up again just so we can see it. So it's The Big
Amazon.
Note.
So
okay.
Yeah.
And how many pages is it? Like 500 or something like that?
No,
it looks like a phone book.
754 if you're including the glossary. but they go into it like they've got
these are all this is all the time Fido is mentioned, right?
Well, it's got stuff like that, in there, but like it's got like you've got half a page to Prelude to the Afternoon of a Sexually Aroused Gas Mask. You've got 2 pages for the Eric Dolphy Memorial Barbecue. Like it is absolutely extensive to say the very least. But yeah, it's great. Like I said, I have thumbed through it and read just a couple of pages of it here and there, but it's a great book. I would absolutely suggest picking it up. So support your local bookstores. If I had many local bookstores, I would have gone there, but I don't. So
right. Before they go away, and then you have to go to
exactly.
OneDrive isn't signed on as a pain in the butt message. Yes, Oldies Radio. Thank you. I need to uninstall that so it doesn't come up. Last thing I wanted to show, and I think we can maybe talk about this for a little bit, is the Doug Sam and his band. This is an album. I actually just got it on CD. I know that's kind of silly, but I just wanted to get it on CD because I can't be bothered to convert it onto, from the vinyl or whatever. But Steve, I know you're a fan, right? So you're
yes.
But you haven't heard this album before, right?
I have not. I have the second one. We just talked about it last night. The Groover's Paradise.
Groovin' in the Bluff. Yes, Groover's Paradise.
So yes, that's a great record.
So I think the cool thing about Sir Doug is that, like, again, that's another one of those albums. Like, if you think about She's About a Mover, right? That song just doesn't.
Which is a huge song in San Antonio. Most every cover band that I went and saw at a bar played that song. I mean that's obviously Doug is huge around there, but right. every single bar band you can guarantee at some point that song was in the set.
Yeah. But I think if you again think about the time frame when that came out, I think it was 65 when that song came out. It was 64 or 65. I want to say maybe 65. It just, again, it didn't sound like any other song. I mean, there's a reason why it was such a hit, and just it's just again, I think it's on the Nuggets box set, right? I believe so.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Sure. I think that was on the original.
Yeah, it is.
The original thing. But so those that don't know, so he sort of they were in San Antonio, and then I think after 1969 they moved to San Francisco, and they released Mendocino. Do you have that album? You ever heard that one?
I do not. I have not. No.
I mean, that's another one it's a pretty great album. I didn't bring that, but I have it. But Mendocino, I think, was probably I don't know if it was a top 100 hit for him, but it definitely was up on the higher ranges of the chart. Um, and then it took him a while to sort of get moving in San Francisco. So they played with a lot of the San Francisco bands, but they were a little too country, I think, to kind of be there. So really, sort of listening to like Commander Cody and stuff like that. I've been, again, I've been on that kick for a couple of weeks now.
Sure.
I've had this album for a long time, and it has, it has Dr. John is on it. He plays on it. And then Dylan's on it too. So Dylan plays a couple of tunes. They do Wallflower is on there. I'm sure you've heard that Dylan tune before, but he's on the back, sort of like hiding right there. But yeah, this is a phenomenal record. And so he kind of put out two albums in '73. This was sort of in the beginning of '73, and then um, Texas Tornadoes was the other one that came out, and then he played with Grateful Dead. So um, that was the Horn tour, that September of '73, which is always one of my that's one of my favorites. I know that we don't really talk about '73, that time frame, that much, but that's definitely one of my personal favorites, because it's just September of '73 was really, really bizarre, because he was doing stuff with Melvin, right? Or Merle Sanders. He was doing stuff with Merle Saunders. Like they were doing, not like this is prior to like the Keystone album coming out, but like at the beginning of the month, he's doing that, and then the Dead did like an East Coast tour. They did like the College of William and Mary. They did a couple shows in New York. They did Buffalo. They did Pittsburgh. But for 10 dates, Doug and his band opened up for the Grateful Dead, and Doug had horn players that were playing with him on that tour. Um, the guys' names are Martin Fierro, played tenor sax, and I don't know who the other guy was. But they sat in with the Dead, mostly second set stuff. During that time frame, I think they were sort of doing Wake of the Flood. So they were playing a lot of, like, if you think of, Let It Grow and the Weather Report Suite, sort of how that is.
Eyes of the World would fit well.
Yeah, so they were doing sort of, they were doing some, some of those kind of horn arrangements. And when I was listening to the Grateful Dead, beginning to end, kind of part, it was like in March, and I was doing like a lot of yard work, and it was sort of, the way that the Pittsburgh is, it's like, we get January and February are just disgusting, right? It's just cold. And then like when March comes around, like we sort of start getting that, like, you start prepping the garden and you start doing things like that. So it was like kind of hearing a song like Let It Grow, and like, I'm hearing that song like at least once a day, because I would listen to like one show, and they were playing the crap out of that on pretty much every date that they would play. But it really kind of was a little more, I don't know, there was a strange thing happened, I guess, when I was just kind of listening to that. So that those dates are really good. They're ones to check out, and you're not used to hearing horns until you get to maybe 1990, when you had Bradford and Marcellus
I love that show. I love that show.
Play horns on like Dark Star and stuff like that. So for those that like Grateful Dead, check out those 10 dates. And I think and then there was like at the end of the month, they like Jerry was doing like he did Old and Away too. So it was like you had him doing, him and Merle Saunders, then you had Grateful Dead, and then you had Old and Away. So it was like three different, completely different, versions of things that he was doing during that time. So yeah, good things. What is that? They say the You Know Who group was Frankie Valli. Yeah, was that You Know Who? Yeah, that was what it was. Where they were like doing Bob Dylan covers, and they didn't want to say it was the Four Seasons because they were like really passe in like 1968 or whatever. So
the Four Seasons doing Bob Dylan tunes. I've got to hear this.
Yeah, they did. Well, those ones were
Blowing in the wind.
Yeah, they did a lot. I won't even say like they did like maybe a whole album of Dylan.
Who's heard of Hot Poop does their own stuff from '71? I've heard of the Frank Zappa Song Hot Poop, but what is Hot Poop?
Elaborate on that. Masked Marauders. Okay.
Oh yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I think we talked about that album on our bootleg episode.
We did, yeah. Yeah. Okay, here it is here. The Four Seasons sing big hits by Burt Bacharach, Hal David, and Bob Dylan. Do you have any guesses on what the Bob Dylan tunes are that they do?
What year did it come out?
It came out in 1965.
Okay, because I was going to say "Girl from the North Country."
Negative. Let me tell you the Burt Bacharach tunes first. So they did "What the World Needs Now," "Always Something There to Remind Me," "Make It Easy on Yourself," "Walk On By," and "What's New Pussycat." And they did like two others, but those ones were like the massive ones.
I'm gonna guess "It Ain't Me, Babe."
No. It was
okay.
Yeah, "The Wonder Who" was what the name of it was. Oldies Radio. What did he say there? The You Know Who group. The Wonder Who was who it was. Yeah, the Wonder Who. Bill's Box of Thousands. Thanks for joining.
Blowing in the Wind. I mean, are we talking about hits?
Oh, boom! There you go. Yes, you got one.
Blowing in the Wind. Okay.
1 of 6. There you go.
Masters of War. Oxford Town. Lonesome Death.
Lonesome Death of Hattie.
Emmett. I mean, what?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Don't think too hard. Don't think too hard.
Don't think twice.
Don't think twice is on there. Yeah.
And nice subtle hint. Thank you. They didn't do Oxford Town.
No, they didn't.
No Masters of War.
Hard rain's gonna fall. Why?
You Masters of War.
Yay.
That is the worst stuff in the entire world. I mean, holy smokes.
Big Girls Don't Cry. That's the worst one.
Yeah.
So they do Queen Jane approximately. Mr. Tambourine.
Get out of here.
Like a Rolling Stone. Like a Rolling Stone is only 4 minutes.
Won't you come see me, Queen Jane?
Yeah. Like a Rolling Stone is 4 minutes and 27 seconds, so they shaved off about a minute. I gotta listen to that. I'm excited to listen.
Kind of make it sound like the Beastie Boys a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. What you want? And then All I Really Want to Do, and then Blowing in the Wind.
All right, I can see those. I mean, sort of.
Yeah,
but Queen Jane.
Which, you know, what, the Dylan and the Dead one, that was like, what, 17 minutes on that CD, right? Or whatever.
Are there demo versions of Desolation Row? And they were like, we can't do this!
Oh, my goodness.
Frankie Valli was great in The Sopranos, though.
You fan? No, I never watched a single episode of that.
It's an amazing show, man.
You're just too good to be true. Oldies Radio, have you ever heard of the Genuine Imitation Life Gazette? That's a great album by the Four Seasons. One of my favorites. And I'll bring it and I'll show you, Steve. I did a video about it. If you go back through my YouTube history, probably about 8 years ago.
So because
I opened up a copy of it. You've seen it?
No, not that one. But I was telling you, like, because you know, I frequent your channel every, I guess every week now. It like just like, you might like this, and it was like Mark's Grateful Dead collection. It was like 9 years ago. It's like, it's very short, and I was like, no. Yeah, I wondered, this is like exponentially grown by then.
Oh yeah. Bought Imitation on your recommendation. High five, Craig. Boom. There you go. Earhead 6. I own it. Thanks, Mark. Boom. There you go, Bo. Yeah. Sorry that I'm a bad influence, but it is a great album. It's a lot better than I think that it was given its due. I mean, back when it came out, everybody was like, "What the heck is this?" And then they didn't want it. But it has like there's like it's like a newspaper, and then there's like an actual it had to have been a very expensive album to make. But most
you talking about Thick as a Brick?
It's better than Thick as a Brick. Like it's
most albums are.
Yeah. It's no Songs from the Wood though. it's a great it is an absolutely great album, and they make fun of like all these bands. There's like a grocery ad, and they're like Moby Grape, Elvis Parsley, like Strawberry Alarm Clock, like all these bands. Like I don't know how they would have gotten away with it these days. Like there's no way. There would be so much. They would have just gotten sued every way. And then what's the guy's name that wrote the Dazed and Confused? Jake Holmes. No, Jake
Jake Holmes.
Holmes.
Yeah.
He wrote the majority of the songs, so he collaborated with them, and so you get these weird songs that aren't, you know, about losing your love. Well, they are, but they're not like Crybaby and Ragdoll and Big Girls Don't Cry and stuff like that. So, um,
That is.
Bo said, "Remember the
Gosh.
goal was to find it without a discount punch." Yeah, and that never happened, Bo. I've never seen a copy that doesn't have the cutout punch on it. Craig said, "Bought a lot of records because of your recommendations many moons ago. My wallet says thanks, and I hate you." So,
Look at you,
yeah,
out there poisoning the minds of record collectors.
And again, we can bring it full circle, and we can thank Jerry Weber for that. So that album though I had way before that was one of the very first records I ever bought.
What was the first album you ever bought on vinyl? What was the one that like, oh, I've got to get this?
It was that one. So there's three. I can narrow it down to three, so I don't know as far as with the timing on it. There was Queen News of the World, which I bought for $0.25 at a thrift store.
Oh, wow.
This probably was like early, I would have say like early mid 90s, something like that. And then
What made you buy that?
Because it was Queen, man. Back then it was like after Wayne's World, it was like, we talk about the greatest hits. That's like a solid greatest hits, but I don't think it has Bohemian Rhapsody on it, does it? Like Queen's greatest hits, the ones like the maroon cover.
Yeah, I don't know. There's 2 volumes of it though.
Okay, well that's the thing. I think that single disc volume doesn't have Bohemian Rhapsody on it. So yeah, News of the World, and then there was a yard sale that was in our neighborhood, and there was the Four Seasons Genuine Imitation Life Gazette and Aerosmith Night in the Ruts. And
Nice.
I bought that, and then my brother bought like 2 Elvis records. He bought like a Christmas one, and I think it's Elvis Gold, like some 70s whatever. So Bo said the first I ever bought Skywriter Jackson 5. It was out. How about everybody else? You want to chime in here?
The first record I ever bought, like vinyl wise, was I think it was a Misfits record. I found it in Hot Topic, and I this is like in 2002. It's got no shame, and that's what kind of started that journey. But the first like piece of music I ever bought was I think Kiss Alive 2 on cassette.
Okay.
So that was like the first thing I bought with like my money, and that was like, the first thing I worked for to obtain. I guess I was 9-10 years old, and that was like 1990. I don't know, 6, 7, 5, something. One of them years.
Didn't seriously collect until 2008. Says Oldies Radio. Boxcar Rules Greatest Hits. Trevor, hey Trevor, how are you?
What's up?
Probably the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack.
We were just talking about that earlier. Yeah. That's a great soundtrack. I mean, that kind of encapsulates that whole disco era. Yeah.
No opinion, Steve. I have no opinion. Fair. I won't be weighing in on that.
Listen, you cannot put on How Deep Is Your Love and not sing along. All right, maybe you can. But
try me, Steve.
Everybody weigh in. That's a fantastic song. Mark is off on this one.
How that is love. Yeah.
I mean, that's great. Night Fever.
Night Fever. I mean, I think that.
Is it cheesy? Yes, but it's all great, man. It's fantastic. If I can't have you, I mean that entire album is fantastic.
I think one of the biggest, if we talk about musical regrets, I think that one thing that I did was there was
a lot of chest hair and a giant gold chain in the 10th grade.
That was it. there were a lot of records that I didn't buy when they were like super cheap, just like on
Like
print.
Rumors.
Like yeah, like I didn't.
Rumors is going for crazy amount of money right now.
Yeah, if we were smart, we would have just bought every copy of Rumors that we ever saw. Tom Petty is another one too. Um, and again, it's like you kind of think about. John says Mark hates
Mark
fun.
hates fun.
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Confirmed. That's right. Yeah, you know it. Yeah, like I feel like there's a bunch of albums that are those ones that you know again, there's a reason why Saturday Night Fever did so well and sold millions and millions and millions of copies. Um,
Except in Mark's house, where it's never passed the threshold of the front
no,
door.
it hasn't. It hasn't. Um, and yeah, yeah. How many times have I seen that record? Probably as many times as I've seen A Star Is Born. Right?
I was gonna say,
like,
as many times as you go out record shopping, you're gonna touch it.
Right. I mean,
so
like is A Star Is Born good? Is that a good album?
Oh, come on, Mark. I have my limitations.
Right. So where do you draw that line? Right. So
I don't have a line. Like I always hate when people say, "Oh, that's my guilty pleasure." Like that drives me insane when people say that. It's like what you like and be proud. Like I'm a huge ABBA fan. Like I'm not gonna. There were many times where I would have ABBA greatest hits and I'd follow that up with Rain and Blood by Slayer. Like I have no shame. I have no shame in just I like what I like. Like that's that. And again, I am certainly not throwing shade on you. I don't want you to think that, but that's. That kind of like elitist attitude just always drove me so crazy, and I ran into that, as I'm sure you did at the record store, especially working there. Working there. I've told you that Prince story off air. With people making stupid comments like that. It's that whole kind of arrogance. Like you shut yourself off to so much.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's again, not necessarily a musical regret, but I think that there's some pretty amazing stuff out there that like let's talk about, was the soundtrack for South Pacific. Was that like how many times did you see that album?
Yeah.
Right? Like in the musical ones, man, you saw those all the time. I passed over those all like but at the end of the day, you do have to specialize, or else you just end up buying everything, right? So you can't say. Like,
I think Questlove said it best when it's like when he talked about his record store, or when he talked about record stores and his record collection. He's like, if somebody asked him, they said, have you listened to all these records? He said, I could live 5 lifetimes and not listen to half this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
well, I think that's a good place where we end it. So. Thanks everybody for stopping by.
Yeah, it was fun.
Man, we got 8 people on right now. Have yourself a fantastic Tuesday evening, and God willing, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe out there. And that's that. So, sports truly.
Sports truly.
Take care, guys.
Good night.
If I can't have you.